Ya birkaç kere bir diyor bunu hesap yiyecek söylüyorum. Diyor bunu kesin. Burası getirdiğimiz kısmı. Ona bir dikkat et koy. Kita tidak perspektif bernasi ya da şimdi beyan ya da şey eksik değil mi? Kita betul beyan ya aku dah buat kita di boleh juga. Ini
Testing, 1 2 1 2. Testing, James, all good, coming through.
Check, 1 2 1 2. Test 1 2. A little bit soft. I'll come up a little bit on the mask. For me or for both of us? Just both of us a bit soft? How about now? Down a bit?
Testing, 1 2 1 2 1 2.
Is Nick a bit high?
Level high.
Okay, I'll go back down to 3 here, and then I'll turn myself up just a little bit there. All right, how's that? Better balance? Check, 1 2. I'm hot? Okay. Check, 1 2 1 2.
Testing, 1 2. Check. All good.
I'll enter the stream now. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Jack Edwards Reserve on a sunny Sunday afternoon in Melbourne. It's time for a Greek derby, and one with such high stakes attached. Oakley Cannons versus Heidelberg United. They meet for the the 8th time since 2022. They faced each other in a Doherty Cup final, in a memorable elimination final here at Jack Edwards in the NPL Finals Series. And you know what they say, familiarity breeds contempt. So we're expecting a fiery game this afternoon. My name is Josh Parrish. I've got Nick Dabano alongside me. And not only is it a massive game, Nick, for these two sides as they chase the title, it's a massive game for today's referee, a milestone for Yanni Zizis.
Yes, hello to you, Josh. Good afternoon here from a very sunny Jack Edwards Reserve. Yes, Yanni Zizis is refereeing his 100th NPL Victoria game. So great to see Yanni joining esteemed company. Of course, you look at the other likes that's on that list, the likes of Adam Bavkar and Lockie Keevers. Top of that list, Bruno Danelio, Perry Murr as well, who comes in at number 2. But Yanni is one of the great refs here in Victorian football. And so a nice little moment there. He's got his kids out in the field there for the pre-game photo as well. So a nice moment for one of the top referees here in Victorian football. And what an occasion for it. A great game of football we should get on the field today between two sides. You mentioned, Josh, chasing down some silverware this season, whether it's the premiership, whether it's just getting a top 2 berth and putting themselves in the best position to, take home the championship this season. These are two sides that are primed for a big second half of the year.
I'll take you through the team news, and it's fairly simple as far as Heidelberg and Johnny A are concerned. Unchanged from the side that demolished Altona Magic in the Cup midweek. Yaron Souza starts between the sticks. A back 4 of Jamal Ali, Ben Collins, Aiden Fetahajic and Dion Nicolaitis. A midfield 3 of Mo Idara, Asahi Yokokawa and Kane Shepherd playing in that number 10 role, just behind Josh Pinn, with Sean Ellis and Nick Olsen on the flanks. On the substitutes bench for Heidelberg, Leo Marzis, Owen Ashton, Adrian Zara, Dom Fowler, Anthony Theodoropoulos and Ryan Govan. So the matchday squad absolutely identical. For Oakley Cannons, well, they beat Moreland City 3-1 on Tuesday night without a recognised centre-back in the side. Thankfully for them, they welcome back Brodie Boyce from injury. Jacob Eliopoulos still unavailable after receiving his second red card of the season against Manningham. Nick Feely comes back in between the sticks as Brendan White drops back to the bench. And as Heidelberg look to craft the game's first chance, it's swung in by Olsen and straight into the arms of Nick Feely. So the rest of the Oakley side, they're suffering from some defensive injuries, but Emlyn Wellsmore, the ever-dependable and versatile utility player, slots in at right back. Connor Hampson at centre back alongside Boyce. Kingsley Sinclair playing as the left back. Kubalay, McGilp and Guest in midfield, and a front 3 of Stefan Valentini, Manibadis and Alex Salmon. Alongside Holmes and White on the bench are Luke Mensick, Roy Gregory and Pierce Waring coming back in, with a number of their under-23s players dropping back out of the squad, including George Bitsius, Nick Ganakis, Andre Skopoulos and Stephen Sakalarius. So back to a more familiar full-strength Oakley lineup, Nick, barring Jacob Eliopoulos and Asad Kasumovic, who are still unavailable.
Yeah, very settled Oakley lineup. They're in a really good run of form at the moment, Josh. 5 straight wins in the league coming into this game, and of course that win in the Cup. They're feeling good about themselves, and only the one loss for the season coming at this very venue against Avondale. So only one combined loss between the two sides. Of course, Heidelberg's still undefeated, Josh. 8 wins, 6 draws in the league, and still in the Doherty Cup. And both these sides are a win away from being in the national stages of the Australia Cup, which is massive for these two teams, who obviously would love to have an opportunity once again to be playing amongst the best in the country, in the NPL and also in the A-League. So big game coming up. We don't know who they're going to play yet because that draw hasn't been taken, but of course this game massive for them as well as they chase down the likes of South and Avondale. As Kubalay's ball over the top looking for Guest, and Fetahagic getting across and putting it out for a corner.
Very well marshalled there, and Joe Guest is the danger man as far as Heidelberg are concerned. Seems to have a habit of scoring against the Burgers since he arrived here in Victoria. He's played them 11 times and scored 7 goals. Not bad for an attacking midfield player.
Quite incredible to think in one of those games as well, Josh, he was sent off. So, even still getting it done, even when he only played a handful of minutes in that game at the start of last season.
He's out-swinging corner, rather, and Adis can't get there. Idara and then Olsen cleaning things up for Heidelberg. Sinclair coming in field. Pass from Hampson was left a little short of Kubalay, but Brodie Boyce has the eyes up looking for Guest, and well, it's not so much of a problem yet, but you imagine that setting sun over the far side of the pitch is going to play havoc not only with our broadcast but with the vision of the players as they look across the pitch, Nick.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a beautiful day, though, here in Melbourne. Nice sort of autumn afternoon as we get closer towards winter. One of the final autumn afternoons, but one of the final home games this year as well for Oakley, Josh. Of course, for those watching on at home, you're used to seeing us on the other side, but you can see the construction has begun of that second grandstand, which means that, you know, that side of the pitch is out of action, as is behind the goals at the moment. So an exciting development here for Oakley as they look to, you know, give Jack Edwards the facelift it deserves and make it even more of a state-of-the-art facility down here in the southeast.
Absolutely. So new grandstand being constructed. 3 light towers have been knocked down. Of course, they had some problems with those light towers earlier in the season, so the remaining home games, and they've only got a handful of them left in the season, have all been shifted to a more old-fashioned Sunday 3 p.m. kickoff while we still have daylight hours to play in.
Tell you what, I really don't mind this kickoff time, Josh. It's a nice vibe out here at Jack Edwards Reserve. I know maybe because everyone's sort of packed into this sort of area here, Josh, but it is a good turnout here at Jack Edwards Reserve for this game, and rightfully should be, because these are two of the best sides in the state right now.
Two sides playing exciting attacking football of different varieties. Oakley maybe a little more direct and rapid in transition. Heidelberg valuing possession. But I have to say, Oakley have quite dominated the ball so far. And now it's Valentini going to work and driving it in low. Easy take for Yaron Souza. But it is with a tinge of sadness, Nick, that we farewell the Oakley turret, our former broadcasting position.
Yes.
Which gave us such an eagle-eyed view, not only of the pitch, but also of the benches.
Yep.
Always good to have a little eavesdrop as to what was going on in the dugouts. Of course, they've been shifted across to this near side this afternoon, which feels very odd indeed.
Yeah, it feels strange. I mean, walking in today and seeing the blue sheds on this side here, you can't miss those, and it feels like everything's in reverse at the moment, Josh. But yeah, farewelling the old turret that, you know, we could sort of have that bird's eye view even of the changes before they happen, because you could see the fourth official receiving the bit of paper from the benches. The last game we were here doing when Oakley played Altona a few weeks ago, Josh, I mean, famously remember seeing the number come up for Asar Kasumovic as Oakley were down in that game, and his number was being called before, you know, it was almost a bit of telepathy, because he went out and scored a brace in the seconds after that and win the game for Oakley. So,
yeah, against St Albans, that game was an absolute cracker.
It's an incredible game of football on that Friday night, but been some really good form as of late, Josh. I mean, Oakley coming off the 3-1 win as well against Manningham last week. But Heidelberg, I mean, 1-1 against Altona last week. They left it late. They were a bit unlucky as well. I mean, you know, Coach John Anastasiadis wasn't too happy with the circumstances surrounding that as well.
Yeah, disallowed goal for a foul on the goalkeeper, which Johnny A didn't see eye to eye with the referee. Salmon has a little snapshot. It came through a sea of bodies, and it sent well wide of the target. One of the competition's leading marksmen, already in double digits in the league, Nick. And it could have been more. But for some of those strikes, lost to history with 2 abandoned fixtures.
Yeah, well, he's scored 10 that count in the league at least, but I think he'd have at least 12 to my knowledge in those games against Altona and Dandy Thunder if they stood. But he's had an incredible season, Josh, probably one of his best in quite some time. And I mean, you know, he's really been you know, Harry Sawyer's, of course, been the striker in NPL Victoria this season, and rightfully so. But Alex Salmon has certainly trailed him, and it's been you know, if you're putting a half team of the season and you're going with a 4-4-2, they're definitely the 2 number 9 options. But conversely, looking at how well Josh Pinn and Kane Shepherd have played for Heidelberg this season, they've both been so impressive, especially Shepherd playing in this new role as number 10.
8 goals for Shepherd, 7 for Josh Pinn. Pinn's missed a couple of games through injury as well, so they are an impressive 1-2 punch, and they complement each other as well. Kane Shepherd, so technically brilliant and great with his back to goal. He's a link-up specialist. And then Josh Pinn, just the searing pace off the shoulder. And always an eye for goal. Can really stretch teams and run channels as well. He's played a lot of his football down here in Victoria out wide. He gets the opportunity to play through the middle more often this season than not.
Yeah, of course, he was brought down to Heidelberg from Queensland by George Katsakis a couple of years ago, Josh, and you do mention, I mean, he started that playing out wide and Shepherd was the man through the middle. And, you know, Josh Pince was still very good in those 2 seasons, but it feels like he's really found his feet, taking his game to the next level, playing as a number 9 and using how technical and how good Kane Shepherd is on the ball, playing in behind, just to sort of add that little bit of craft in the middle of the park. And when you've got guys like Nick Olsen and Sean Ellis out there as well, it's an embarrassment of riches in that final third for Heidelberg this year.
Certainly been eye-catching so far this season, Heidelberg. Just the number of draws and points that they've dropped in those situations has hindered them. But again, unbeaten in 17 in all competitions this season. Here goes Manib Adis, gets the step on Ali, and it's well fielded by Yaron Souza, who just had an injury complaint early in the match, but seems to be okay. Shepherd. Wants the run of Yokokawa, had to slide for it and gave it away. And this is Emlyn Wellsmore. Square for Guest. Oakley will regroup.
I think when you look at we talk about Heidelberg's attack, Josh, but really the underrated part of this team so far has been their defence. League best, only 10 goals conceded this year, and you look at the calibre of players they've got back there, bringing in Yaron Souza from, you know, a stint overseas in Europe, signing Ben Collins as well from Melbourne Knights, you know, having the likes of Feta Hagic and Nicolaides and Jamal Ali stick around for another season as well. It's such a settled back 5. And I'll tell you what, probably one of the best in the competition. I mean, if not, he probably is the best right now, at least. I mean, even just from an individual standpoint, they're just all amazing defenders and all bring so much talent to this side. And, you know, you look conversely at Oakley, they've got a great defence as well, but they're the walking wounded at the moment. You know, no Aliopoulos through suspension, no Hamish Miller as well. So they're really having to patch things up a little bit, and we've seen Kingsley Sinclair as well slotting at left back at times as well.
Jamal Ali did so well there.
Just wasn't sure if that was in or out there from Mooney Bates, but hasn't Kingsley Sinclair been a bit of a revelation, Josh, as a left back this year? I mean, he's forced Connor Hampson to kind of slot in now as a centre back and almost reinvent himself in the heart of defence, and it's been good to see. I mean, Sinclair's one of those many wingers, natural wingers that they had, and, you know, I mean, there's not many spots going around in that attack. I mean, they've got so much talent up there, and he had to reinvent himself. Look what he's been able to do.
Speaking of defenders who can step further forward, it's Wellsmore, but he gives it away. Yokokawa sees his pass over the top, headed back from whence it came by Connor Hampson, and now Joe Guest chips a little 9-iron into the channel for Minibaitis. Swings the crossover to the back post. Nicolaitis couldn't fully clear the danger, and now Valentini squares it up for Alex Salmon to curl one. And it was always drifting wide of Yaron Souza's far post. You don't want to be giving Alex Salmon too many opportunities to get his eye in.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, he was in a lot of space on the edge of the area there, and it's a good opportunity there for Oakley, and it's almost rare to see him not putting those ones on target, but a little bit of a let-off there for the Heidelberg defence, just a rare lapse in concentration. Just keeping an eye on Yaron Souza here, Josh. I don't know if this is some sort of set play or what's going on, but, you know, Ben Collins taking the goal kick. I mean, must just be a bit of a set play if it's not going long, but fascinating to see how this plays out.
Yeah. Interesting one. It's almost futsal style, like taking a kick in back to the goalkeeper. Yes. Since the advent of those new rules where you can be inside the box, it's given rise to all sorts of new tactics off goal kicks. They are a set piece, you know, of their own right. Adis chased down by Idara. Guest thought he was fouled off the ball, I think. Meanwhile, it's Ellis. Intercepted by Sinclair. Lofts it over Ellis. McGill. And then Ellis getting there late and conceding the free kick on the near side. The thing that impresses me about Ben Collins this season, Nick, he's yet to be booked in the league, which for a central defender is incredible, frankly. Yeah. He's such a tidy player, technically. I guess he's got the more physical presence of Aiden Feta Hagic to do the rough stuff for him, so it's a bit of a yin and yang combination in the back line.
I think it's just good to see Ben Collins is playing regular football, Josh, because, you know, during his time at Western United, of course, they're in a very successful period for the club when they won an A-League championship and was on the bench, but he didn't play a lot of football. I mean, he was stuck behind the likes of Tomoki Imai and Leo Lacroix and Nikolai Topper-Stanley. You know, the opportunities under John Aloisi were few and far between, but he's really settled at NPL level, and he's looking like an absolute find for Heidelberg this year.
This is Valentini twisting and turning, and then Feta Hadzic heads over his own goal. That could have gone anywhere. I wouldn't say Heidelberg are on the ropes at the moment, but they certainly have to be careful about how much pressure they're willing to sit back and absorb. Another chance. The Oakley Cannons off a set piece. Connor Hampson, the obvious target. Sending towards Hampson, but Feta Hadzic defending zonally at the near post. Sinclair back to Ollie Kubalay to cross with his left foot. Non-preferred. And then struck by McGilp and completely scuffed. And Yaron Souza will pick up the crumbs.
Interesting how much can change in a year, Josh. I mean, Yaron Souza this time last year was busy celebrating a Central Coast Mariners A-League championship. Of course, was the backup goalkeeper to Danny Vukovic. We'll let play run out here.
Goes Nick Olsen. Back to Asahi Yokokawa. Great take by Ellis. Cross wasn't quite as good as the first touch. Ooh, Wellsmore going straight over the top. And then Josh Pinn! Great reflex stop from Nick Feely. The first time he's been tested. And we might have an injury stoppage here.
Yeah, Wellsmore, I think, just falling on his... Wellsmore, is that Valentini that went to ground?
The two look-alike players on that right-hand side.
It might have been Stefan Valentini who went to ground there, Josh. And, yeah, very nasty.
It was Valentini, you're right, Nick.
Falling on his back there, that certainly won't
That's often where the GPS is placed as well, so that can be painful too. In-swinging corner, Collins meets it at the back post. It stayed in play. Well, Oakley appealing, but it required a touch, a header off the line. And the Cannons survive an early scare.
See them just having a few words there with the assistant referee on this near side saying, you know, how'd you not call it? Even the Oakley bench now, which is situated on that side over there, you know, they saw the assistants up and asking the question, why was that not paid a goal kick? But good little period here from the Burgers.
Certainly is, as Yokokawa winds up again. Low delivery this time by the Japanese playmaker. Olsen. Nicolaitis. Oh, great first touch from Ellis again, but Kingsley Sinclair was pressuring that first touch very effectively and wins a goal kick for Oakley. Well, he's been pretty seamless slotting in as a fullback, Kingsley Sinclair.
Yep.
To say that's not what they signed him to do. I'm not sure that's what he expected to do when he arrived here, but anyway, you can get in the team.
Yeah, especially with how stacked this attack is, Josh. I mean, no Asar Kasumovic today as well. I mean, Pierce Waring, the minutes have been few and far between for him this season. Such a stacked front line, so he had to kind of reinvent himself and find a new role for him. I mean, he was signed at around this time last year in the mid-season window, coming across from New Zealand. And
Ellis who hits one. Feely outside his penalty area, couldn't use his hands. Ali into Guest, and Joe Guest, well, uncharacteristic, I think, is the word we usually use for Joe Guest in those situations.
I was going to say, we didn't see much of Kingsley Sinclair last year when he was playing as a winger, but now he's slotting in as a fullback as Alice's ball over the top looking for Pin and Feely collects. But he's fitted in so well. Like, you know, he just reads the play really well playing as a fullback. I mean, it felt like when he first got that opportunity was more because they had to rotate. You know, Connor Hampson missed a few games. They gave him an opportunity at left back, and he hasn't looked back since. It's been a really impressive run from the Kiwi, who has just really given them a lot, and a lot of attacking drive down that left-hand side as well. It makes both sides so dangerous from when you've got Emlyn Wellsmore, who's in possession here, able to get forward down the right, and you've got that double threat of Sinclair providing an extra support on the opposite side.
Well, Nick Olsen really frustrated with the service there from Shepherd. Guess gives Salmon one to chase. Muscles off Nicolaitis, and then cut back to Valentini. And Jamal Ali sweeps the danger away. Pin. Idara to Ben Collins, baiting the press here, Heidelberg, and they cough it up. And Ben Collins won't get a whistle. And neither will Sinclair, though, as Idara comes in. Clean as a whistle challenge on the ball. Really underrated player, Mo Idara.
According to some, he's one of the most difficult players to play against in the league.
Sure is. Max Mikula recently said he was his toughest opponent.
I mean, I don't blame him. He's one of the most covers probably the most ground out of most players in this league. He's just about everywhere. You could slot him in so many different positions, whether he's playing as a fullback or in midfield. He's just an energizer bunny, going up and down, covering the width, covering the length of the ground. He's been such a good signing for Heidelberg since they brought him in that mid-season window last year.
What is it they say? That over 70% of the Earth's surface is covered by water and the rest is covered by Mo Idara.
It's good from you, Josh.
Well, I hope you're enjoying the coverage so far. As these two teams battle it out. It's almost a five-way title race here in Victoria, with South Melbourne leading the pack, Avondale in close pursuit, and then come Oakley and Heidelberg. Josh Parrish and Nick Debano with you.
Of course, can't forget Hume City as well, Josh. They came from the clouds yesterday to record a 2-1 win against Green Gully yesterday. Avondale, as you mentioned, 2-1 winners against St Albans, a hard-fought win for them, and South Melbourne in action at 4 o'clock against Moreland City, top v bottom, but Moreland City are kind of the informed team in that relegation battle at the moment.
They rested about 9 players against Oakley on Tuesday as well, so they should be fresh. You can see why they're prioritising the league, given the situation they're in, but they've found some form of late.
I think if they win this game, I think they could go to, I believe, third last, because Manningham and St Albans both lost, and they could go at least above Manningham on goal difference, which is incredible, considering they didn't win a game from their first, 14 or 13?
Tough task beating South at Lakeside, though. Collins is forced to head behind. Only Avondale have done that this season. So another chance for Joe Guest to deliver the kill ball. It's floated to the back post this time. Adis is up. Header never really threatening Yaron Souza. As you were saying before, Nick, Yaron Souza, backup goalkeeper as the Mariners lifted the title.
Last year, yep.
Had a stint overseas in Malta, was it?
Yeah, for Goodger United in Malta. And then decided to come back home and play for Heidelberg. I mean, he was at the Mariners for a couple of years, served as the backup to Danny Vukovic, and before that, Mark Birighitti, and only had maybe only about 2 or 3 appearances. The one A-League appearance he actually got injured in the first 15 minutes, and he's a supremely talented goalkeeper. He's just had a rotten run of luck, and everyone that you speak to that's in and around the Mariners spoke so highly of him as being such a great club person. I mean, the A-League's all-access clips were going viral with him and Jason Cummings for their antics on the golf course, but, he's a great goalkeeper as well as being a great character, and he's been a really good pickup as well for Heidelberg this year, just fitting in so well in goals. And I mean, it comes after a period, Josh, where Heidelberg's had a bit of a rotating door between the sticks, especially last year.
Certainly have. Idara feeds Ellis. Ball is deflected off Hampson. Now Heidelberg have a corner of their own.
What was it last year? I think they had about 5 starting goalkeepers throughout the year. I mean, between Theodorides and Brendan White, who's now the backup at Oakley, Hamish Brown, Pierce Clark, Nick Eresh.
Yeah, it was definitely a revolving door, as you say. And they've just had a lot more consistency, and not only in personnel but approach this season. Seems like Johnny Anastasiadis has really embedded his game plan. 2 corners in a row from Ellis. He'll get a third. The rare double mulligan for Sean Ellis. See what the flame-haired Scot can produce this time. Oh, it's a great delivery, and Feely couldn't claim. Here's Shepherd. Lays it off. First time shot coming in from Olsen. And it flies over the construction works and onto the main road.
Well, let's hope no one was driving along the road there, because they would have had a very interesting comets coming flying across the street there.
Olsen's comet, it only appears, you know, once a season.
At least here at Jack Edwards Reserve. It's been a good signing for them, Nick Olsen. I mean, you know, we've seen him here in the A-League for Brisbane Roar. He spent some time in Vietnam for the last few years. Now made his way back to Victorian football. Played a lot in NPL New South Wales as well, you know, for the likes of Sydney United, and spent a couple of seasons under Warren as well at Brisbane Roar.
Heidelberg coughing up possession to the Oakley press. It's Salmon looking for Adis. Maybe a little unselfish there from Alex Salmon. A little too unselfish, perhaps. Here's Hampson. Finding Sinclair in space. Wants it on his right foot. It's going to curl straight into the grateful arms of Yaron Souza. I think that's one issue you'd have with this Oakley lineup today, is you don't have a natural left footer anywhere on the left-hand side. No, two players who just want to cut in, and I think that's something that Jamal Ali will be able to telegraph. He'll know what's coming, and that's a good ball, though. And Souza, oh, was he outside the area there? Big appeal from the Oakley players.
I mean, we can barely see the lines from this angle, Josh. I mean,
it looked a long way out, Nick, but we have no idea where the edge of that box is from our broadcast position, so we're just going to have to trust the officials. You can almost make out the D.
I mean,
Maidara slipping it through for pin. The flag goes up straight away.
What's the rule, Josh? Does it just have to be a part of the foot? If, like, you got your
I think
heel
it's the position of the ball, Nick, I believe.
So it's not even to do with your feet?
No, I don't think so.
So it's not like, you know, in the NBA, if you got your foot on the line,
no.
like it's out.
I believe it's the same thing as a goal, you know, or a ball out of play for a throw in. It's just the position of the ball. Sure, someone will correct me if I'm wrong, but
that's where we need Yanni mic'd up, and we get Yanni to explain it in live time. The live VAR. I
think you can't give that unless you're sure.
Yeah.
From a referee's perspective,
it's clear and obvious.
Yeah, it's got to. That's not just a VAR stipulation. That's for a decision like that. You have to be certain the ball was out, and you're relying on your assistant as well. A little bit of wrestling going on between Pin and Hampson. Meanwhile, here comes Jamal Ali. McGilp running to intercept, and Sinclair under the cosh from Ellis. Ooh. Oh, really well done from Sinclair, and Hampson again playing with fire here, Oakley. Adis. Sinclair up the line. The most simple pass of the lot is the one that goes astray. But
yeah, no support there. Was actually really well played there from Heidelberg to be able to hem Oakley in that far corner. They've done really well at limiting how quickly they can break out in transition. You know, Mooney Batis has been so dangerous since Steph Valentini when they're able to get at defenders and create those one-on-one ISO situations, but they've been really good at stopping those moments and even allowing the likes of Wellsmore to get forward as well, and here he is in possession.
Oh, Heidelberg had an advantage, and they didn't take advantage. Here comes Valentini for Guest. Guest, too quick. And there comes the first booking of the season for Ben Collins.
Well, curse of the commentator, Josh. Big challenge there from Ben Collins, and I mean, you can't argue there with the referee's decision.
Yeah, certainly stopping an attacking opportunity.
Yeah.
Well, even the cleanest and best defenders have to cop a card at some point.
Absolutely.
And I think Ben Collins would do it again if given the same opportunity.
Got to do what you got to do, Josh.
Yanni Zizis just trying to ensure the wall is complete 10 yards back. Well, this is definitely shooting range for Joe Guess. There's plenty of time to get the ball up and down as well. 4 in the wall for the Cannons. It's a split wall, it looks like. Trying to cover both sides of the goal. Here goes Joe Guess through the middle. And, well, the unconventional tactic works out pretty well for Heidelberg.
Just keeping an eye on Wellsmore, that was going out the right shoulder, making that late run. I thought that was the point of that wall, just like peel off in case Guess, you know, went for a bit of the trick play there. But nonetheless, it was the clear and obvious sort of opportunity there that Joe Guess was just going to have a shot on goal, and you don't blame him considering how deadly he is from that sort of position.
I think the idea maybe is to bait the attacker to shoot closer to the keeper and ensure Yaron Souza has a clear view of the ball, considering, you know, it was quite a fair way out. That is the keeper deciding to back himself. First time from Ellis down the line for Pin, and now Heidelberg have numbers. It's Pin, clips it up for Olsen at the back post. It was a towering header that Nick Feely claims comfortably in the end, and now Nick Olsen has done himself some damage.
He looks a bit sore here, Nick Olsen, after going up for that. It was a good leap to get his head on it, but he looks a little bit worse for wear after colliding with the ground here, Josh. And hopefully he's all good, because that was quite a heavy fall.
Wouldn't be the first time he's done himself some damage this season. There was an incident
against Avondale.
Avondale at Broadmeadows, where he was kicked in the face, was it, or had a?
There was that to stop the game early because of concussion. Last thing we need is a head injury here, so hopefully he's all good. But a bit of a chance for us to take a breath as well, Josh. Been a bit of an interesting start to this game. I mean, both teams have had some decent chances. I mean, Heidelberg probably had the better of the chances so far, but Oakley's probably had more of the ball, more of the play. But it's tight. It feels a bit like a final today. It feels like an elimination final. Both teams just almost trying to feel each other out a little bit. No one wants to go, you know, too much, show too much early. But I get a feeling as this game goes on and you start to understand what's on the line, the stakes for these teams, that both teams might start to open up a little bit.
You're telling me it's like an elimination final, Nick?
Well, remember the last time was elimination final.
This game's about to come to life big style.
Well, they played in the, as you mentioned, the Doherty Cup final as well last year, Josh, which Oakley won 3-0 at Kingston Heath, and it's quite a resounding victory, which of course Aiden Federhagic was sent off that night, and that sort of really swung the momentum in Oakley's favour. That was a very different Heidelberg team to what's playing today. I mean, Heidelberg had a really disappointing year last year, and, you know, they've moved on from George Katsakis and brought in John Anastasiadis, who is still undefeated as new head coach. I mean, it must feel, it's interesting seeing Johnny A back on the sidelines here. I mean, it's been his first trip back to Jack Edwards reserve since taking over as Heidelberg coach. I mean, he'd have plenty of memories being the old coach of Bentley Greens in South Melbourne, you know, being on these touchlines, and of course many meetings alongside Chris Taylor as well throughout the years.
Well won by Nicolaitis. Yokokawa through the gap, and McGill wins the ball back, sidestepping the challenge of Kane Shepherd. We have a breakthrough before half-time. Half an hour played at Jack Edwards, still scoreless in this Greek derby. And Heidelberg holding a really disciplined defensive line there. The arms went up straight away from the two central defenders. They knew they'd done their job. Federhagic back to Souza. Oh, taken on the chest from Jamal Ali. Oh, and vaults the challenge of Kubalay.
Honestly, I think Jamal Ali is one of the most underrated players in the competition. I mean, he's so good. And he's a natural centre-back. And I mean, I reckon, honestly, he could be an even better six playing him further up the field. He covers so much ground. He's so quick. He's good with the ball.
It's exciting when he runs with it as well. Don't often think of dribbling as a key component of a fullback's arsenal, but it is. Joe Guest sliding in on Collins. Great turn from Collins. This is the commitment to playing out from the back from Heidelberg that is a real trademark of Johnny A's. Will it cost them here? Kubalay for Salmon. Just wrong foots Joe Guest. And that connection hasn't quite been there so far. Guest for Adis. It's Minib Adis from the angle. And again, Jamal Ali superb. Getting across in time to block. And Ali somehow forces the ball through to Sean Ellis, who's fouled by Kingsley Sinclair. Josh Pinn making a bit of a point to Yanni Zizis that foul really did stop the Heidelberg attack in its tracks. I think Jamal Ali would be up there with my my best in the first half, Nick.
I think so as well. It's been brilliant so far. It's a good matchup between him against Adis.
Well, the key 1v1 battles to watch. Collins. Flag is up against Olsen.
I mean, not many defenders in this league can go toe-to-toe with Munibate, especially in a foot race, because he's so quick, he's so rapid. But Jamal Ali, I mean, he's the sort of player who back himself going up against Adis, you know, and he's done a really good job so far. He's been able to limit his impact, and I mean, it's just going to be a fascinating chess match as this game goes on. How he's going to be able to curtail that speed on this near side.
Especially as the game gets more and more stretched.
Absolutely.
This is Wellsmore picking Kane Shepherd's pocket. Here goes Adis. Skips past Jamal Ali this time. Flips the ball to the back post. Only half cleared by Nicolaitis. And now Valentini. And it's tapped in. And it's Alex Salmon with his 11th goal of the season. He just can't stop scoring at the moment. And Oakley Cannons have their reward for so much possession and so much pressure in this first half. The first blood goes to Oakley.
That all started with Emlyn Wellsmore coming across, winning the ball in the middle of the park, shifting in from fullback as well, and just continues his really good season to date. Played that ball out wide. Munibate was finally able to get him behind Jamal Ali, and we just spoke about how big of a matchup that is, and Adis getting that space, being able to get that ball over to Valentini. And you know, you see Steph Valentini putting those on a platter all the time. It's a beautiful pass in. Alex Salmon, easy as you like. Goal number 11 this season, Josh. He's absolutely flying at the minute. And Oakley in a good position to potentially give Heidelberg their first defeat of the season.
The unbeaten season under threat for the Burgers.
Well, it's the second time in a matter of days, really, second time in a week now that Heidelberg have been in this position, Josh. I mean, it was against Altona at home last Sunday, where they had to come from behind and get something. You know, no disrespect to Altona, but Oakley at Jack Edwards Reserve is a much different task to playing up against Altona at the Olympic Village. So
we get the instant reply. It's Olsen in for Pin. And we almost had an equaliser within seconds of the restart. Well, Josh Pin couldn't quite get the purchase on that. And here's Meneb Adis coming to life. He's got a bit of confidence. Look at him go when he gets the ball. That's a great ball from McGill for Valentini again. Going at Nicolaitis. The cutback is just a little scuffed this time. A little moonraker of a clearance from Fedorhajic. Hampson out to Sinclair. Now Guess tries to put it into the corridor of uncertainty once more. Sousa claims this time. Olsen and then Shepherd off the chest. Olsen switch. Sinclair flying across to get the telling touch off the head.
Be fascinated to see what Heidelberg do at the break, Josh, what sort of message it is from Johnny A, because I feel like they've actually been pretty good. You know, despite that sort of one lapse, they've had chances. He goes certainly right in this one.
This is Shepherd out to Olsen. Shepherd was caught late. And now Olsen cutting in field. The ricochet falls to Sean Ellis. It was an absolute rocket off the left boot of the Scotsman. But Kingsley Sinclair in the right place at the right time to block. And Heidelberg have created two of their best chances since going behind.
Fell to the perfect player right there in Sean Ellis, who you'd back to pop that one in the back of the net. But that is a huge block from Kingsley Sinclair, getting across and denying Sean Ellis a huge equaliser. There's been a very good response since going behind from Heidelberg.
Here goes Yokokawa. In swinger. Collins is there with the free header. And Josh Pin rose and couldn't direct his on target. Big chances going begging for the Burgers. They should be level.
Three really good chances, Josh, since the go-ahead goal, and this has been a really good patch. Very promising here from the visitors. Oakley got to be careful. They can't afford to get complacent going into half-time. This Heidelberg team just going to keep on coming and keep on coming. It's set the table brilliantly for the rest of this first half and going into the second.
Valentini rising highest. Ellis around the corner. Couldn't find Pin. Hampson was there. Now Sinclair springs into space, and he's got Adis out wide. Manib Adis crosses to the back post. Valentini will keep it in field. Valentini bursting past Nicolaitis. Still going Stefan Valentini. Little back heel from Guest. And then McGilt with the strike. And 2 palms away from Souza. And this game has shifted up a gear. Adis off Jamal Ali. And behind for an Oakley corner. Well, it seemed as if the concession of the goal sparked Heidelberg into life. And then the Heidelberg chances have sparked Oakley into life.
Well, into this first half, Josh, it's really had everything. You get a sense there is at least one more goal in this first half, the way that both teams have gone at it. Been a really fascinating few minutes to see how both teams have responded since that Alex Salmon goal.
Joe Guest sizes up this corner. Good delivery for Adis, and in! Oakley a 2 to the good. And who else but Stefan Valentini scored a magnificent goal off the bench against Manningham. And after setting up the first goal, he nods home the second. The Cannons in a commanding position in the Greek derby.
Beautiful ball into the box, and Oakley make Heidelberg pay for all those missed opportunities they had just before that. They'd be absolutely kicking themselves. They had chance after chance to bring the scores level, and then right there in the right place at the right time, Stefan Valentini. Good to see him back after a few weeks through injury, Josh. He's back in the starting lineup today, and he's making an impact. He's now 4 goals this season. He's a player that's got so much ability. We sometimes forget that he's got the ability to score goals in bucket loads. And that's a big one for Steph, big for his confidence in Oakley. Looking the goods going into half-time. I'll tell you what, we spoke about the response to the go-ahead goal from Heidelberg, but then, as you mentioned, the response to the Heidelberg chance has been even better from Oakley.
What an end to this first half. Now, the Burgers have it all to do. Shepherd goes down, clear foul from Kubalay. Well, it was a similar chance to Josh Pins for Heidelberg to equalise. Flicked header across goal, and then where Josh Pin couldn't convert, Stefan Valentini could. Olsen, quick restart for Collins.
Just keeping an eye on John Anastasiadis after that goal. It seems like he wasn't happy with something that happened in the build-up. I'm not exactly sure what it was, but he was having a word with Yanni Zizas. Didn't look like there was a foul or anything in the build-up from memory.
Not that I spotted, Nick, but maybe Johnny A saw something we didn't. Olsen flicks it on. Hampson. Brilliant ball from the outside of the boot from Connor Hampson. Makes it look easy. Kubalay. Ellis hot in his heels there. And McGill. Kubalay. One touch from Guest. One touch from McGill. Really eye-catching build-up from Oakley here. Adis cuts it back for Joe Guest. Time to measure the delivery. It's away by Collins. Only as far as Kingsley Sinclair. And now Manib Adis to lash one goalwards. And Yaron Souza got his full body behind it.
Good save there from Souza, but Oakley are coming at the moment. The last thing Heidelberg can afford to do is go 3 behind here. If they can stay at around 2-0, it's not necessarily the worst margin. They're still well and truly in the game, but Oakley at the moment just playing with a swagger when they're going forward right now. We haven't seen this Heidelberg defence under this sort of pressure at all this season, Josh.
Well, perhaps not since they went down to 10 in the second half against Port Melbourne Sharks. Heidelberg been so tested. They came through that game with a very creditable draw. After Adrian Zara received his marching orders. Ali. Collins over the top. Pin and Hampson. Well, Pin just got a little frustrated there and went for the judo throw.
Yeah. Hampson went flying there.
It wasn't a subtle foul from Pin. I think he's been maybe fortunate to stay out of the book there. I think Connor Hampson took it very well was a very even-tempered response.
Yeah, I think he... I think Connor Hampson kind of was playing for the contact a little bit, getting in. No, but I'm saying like going into Josh Pinn and Josh Pinn getting a bit frustrated, a bit of professional, like, you know, like a little bit of gamesmanship there. Not professionalism, gamesmanship, I should say, but, you know.
Just saying
let them fight, Josh.
Connor Hampson has wound him up.
He's wound him up. He definitely has. Probably a few words that we can't repeat on this broadcast as well.
It's a tough matchup against one of the quickest players in the league. But Connor Hampson has come through with flying colours in that duel so far. Such a luxury to have a player who can play all 4 positions across the back line without really skipping a beat. Plus he can chip in with a goal off a set piece as well. Hampson. Lobs up to Salmon. Shepherd. Ellis. Square for Kane Shepherd. Collins. Can Heidelberg muster a response in the shadows of half-time? Nicolaides. Wellsmore up the line. Feta Hadjic. Shepherd. Great first-time layup for Idara. And he has territory to attack here. Onto the left foot of Sean Ellis. Shot was blocked. Shepherd feeds it down the line for Jamal Ali, who's advancing. And Ali was the only player appealing for the handball against Sinclair. I suppose he was the only one who could see it.
Still not necessarily the worst result here, though, Josh.
30 seconds plus stoppages to play in this first half. Heidelberg up against the ropes. Ellis, high delivery. Floated into the box. And
the ball go out of play.
Struggling to see how with a left-footed corner taker. Maybe he took it from the wrong spot, Nick? That's very odd. Well, our view is obscured by the new placement of the dugouts here, so...
Was there a foul in the box, maybe?
Your guess at home is as good as mine. It looked as if Yanni Zizis was signalling for a goal kick to me.
Yeah, it is a goal kick. Hold on.
Perhaps not.
What is going on?
Looks like it's an indirect free kick from the corner spot. So there must have been something that Sean Ellis did wrong when he took the corner. Maybe
did he take the corner from outside the...
Outside the D, perhaps. I've never seen this given before in my life. Oakley seemed as confused as Heidelberg about this procedure.
Anyways,
let's get back underway.
Okay.
Oh, and Idara makes the interception, not for long. Yokokawa. McGill. Guest. Adis. Kept it in play, much to the chagrin of the Heidelberg bench and Johnny A. Very calmly done from Jamal Ali, but it's headed back by Kubalay. Now Salmon prompting a run from Wellsmore. Here goes Emlyn. Wellsmore deflected. What a save. Yaron Souza diving the wrong way. The ball deflected en route. Somehow he reacted in time. Now Nick Olsen skipping down the left flank. Gets it back from Josh Pinn. A little bit of momentum goes out of this Heidelberg attack. Yokokawa forced to go back to the centre halves. I felt like Josh Pinn could have been more aggressive there, trying to turn and go and run at his defenders. Haven't seen him dribble enough with the ball today. And there is half-time. Yanni Zizis, in his 100th game in charge in the top flight, brings this to a close. And it's been a pulsating watch, especially that last 15 minutes, Nick. Oakley Cannons, 2 to the good. Stefan Valentini driving the ball across goal. And Alex Salmon will never score an easier tap in. And then Menibaitis flicking the corner kick of Joe Gaston to the back post. And it was Valentini who rose unopposed to whack the header into the back of the net and give Oakley a 2-0 lead. It has not been as straightforward as the scoreline seems, though.
Yeah, it's been a fascinating first half, Josh. I mean, it was a bit of a chess match for the first half an hour or so, but then it really came into life in that last little period. I mean, either side of Salmon and Valentini's goal, Heidelberg had a number of good opportunities to bring this game level, but Oakley just being a bit more clinical in front of goal at the moment, it set things up beautifully for the second half, Josh. I mean, as much as Heidelberg are down by 2, they're going to really come at it this second half because they want that undefeated streak to stay intact. And as we know, 2-0 is a very, very dangerous lead in football, so we'll see what happens in the second half.
This one far from over. Join us on the other side for the second half here at Jack Edwards. The halftime score in the Greek derby, Oakley Cannons 2, Heidelberg United 0. Welcome back to Jack Edwards Reserve, ladies and gentlemen. It's 2-0 to the Oakley Cannons over Heidelberg United in the Greek derby. Goals from Alex Salmon and Stefan Valentini in the first half. And Johnny Anastasiadis' side with a mountain to climb. But it hasn't been all one-way traffic. Heidelberg had plenty of chances in the last 10 minutes of that first half to either equalise or draw a goal back once it went 2-0. Oh, and a big hit from Valentini on Nicolaitis. In the opening seconds of the seconds, yellow card out for Valentini. Nicolaitis in a bit of strife. Josh Parrish here alongside Nick DeBoto. Nick, that was a heavy collision.
Yeah, full throttle start to this second half and a big challenge there from Valentini on Nicolaitis. Looks like he's all good, which is great news, but you get a sense this second half the Burgers are really going to come at Oakley. They have to try and, put the pressure on them, and you get the feeling there's been a bit of physicality in that first half, and because of Heidelberg having to go for the game, you get a sense the tempo is just going to lift a little bit. So we might see a few of these big challenges in the second half.
Feta Hadjic, clearance straight into Joe Guest. Is it going to spin out on the Englishman? Guest brought down by Feta Hadjic. And he's got to be careful.
You just see Alex Salmon going over and remonstrating with Yanni Zizas. Couldn't really see the challenge from our vantage point, Josh, because again the dugout is just blocking that corner flag. So
it's just our luck, isn't it, Nick?
Yeah.
On the day that the dugouts get moved almost into the corners, there's all sorts of action happening down on that near side.
Take it to the other corner, fellas. Come on. Flip sides.
Sean Ellis penalised in the first half for taking a corner illegally, we think. So we got a free kick for Oakley deep in that territory. And then Joe Guest, who was fouled, will take the set piece. It's a low in swinging delivery. It'll trickle back out to Joe Guest. Oh, it's dangerous. And the whistle goes against Oakley. Feta Hadjic was sliding. Connor Hampson in a world of hurt. Heidelberg lucky to get away with that.
Don't know what the foul was for.
Might have been something for that contact. Anyway, we get restarted and we go again. And Hampson is back to his feet and sprinting back into the heart of defence. Feta Hadjic. The eyes up, looking for Olsen. Wellsmore in the way. Wellsmore. Feeding it down the line for Valentini. It's already built up a head of steam. Decent cross, but it's straight to Ben Collins. McGill. Wellsmore. Crowded out by a combination of Olsen and Shepherd. And now Shepherd trying to shield the ball. He'll win a throw at least. I'll keep a close eye on Nicolaitis after that really hefty collision with Valentini in the opening moments of this second half. Seems to be okay. Souza. It's been all Oakley to start the second, which is not the response Johnny A would have wanted. Had a big huddle before kickoff in the second half, Heidelberg. Are they on course for their first defeat of the season? If you've just tuned in, there's some construction works going on here at Jack Edwards, so the entire far side, including our old broadcast position, has been demolished in order for a new grandstand to be put in. And all of Oakley's remaining home games have been shifted to Sunday afternoons because the light towers have been removed to make way for that construction. So they've only got 2 more to go after this, Nick, but a more old school 3 p.m. Sunday kickoff time, which seems to suit this tie-in anyway, with Heidelberg fans and Oakley fans showing up in good numbers. Oh, nasty challenge from Salmon. He says he got the ball. Another yellow ticket out.
It's a fast and furious start to this second half, Josh.
I wonder what was said at half-time in the Oakley dressing rooms to get them so riled up. You're 2-0 up, fellas. You don't need to get someone sent off and give Heidelberg a way back into the game. Valentini booked, Salmon booked. And Yanni Zizas just trying to keep a lid on what might be a powder keg of a second half. Another big tackle. That time it's legal from Joe Guest. Souza. Boyce. Ooh, Ellis skips in front, and then Olsen robbed it off his toe. Friendly fire from Heidelberg. Salmon was onside coming back to receive possession. Collins got a touch, and it's going to be an Oakley corner. Well, there's a real bubbling tension around here.
Yeah,
isn't there, Nick?
It's really all happening at the moment. I mean, it's been Oakley have been the aggressors, as you said, Josh. Like 2-0 up, but they're the side putting, turning up the dial on the physicality.
Outswinger from Guest. Federhajic away. Sinclair galloping in to take it on the chest. Keeps it alive for Guest to cross. Hung up looking for Salmon, and Yaron Souza. He's off his line in a flash. That's a quick, short restart from Souza. Nicolaitis. Federhajic. Shepherd. Keeps McGilp on his back. Spins it in behind. Olsen can't quite get there. Ideally want the pace of Josh Pinn running into that position, but again, Shepherd and Pinn haven't really had that connection today. Kubalay. Salmon had Federhajic on his back. Idara. Heidelberg yet to register a shot in anger in this second half. Salmon pumps it up. Well, Hampson pumps it up the line for Salmon, rather. They really get the most out of their visa players, don't they, Oakley? 3 absolute top-class Englishmen peppered through the spine of this side. Feels like in the NPL Victoria, half the battle is recruitment. It's such a battleground trying to get your transfer targets and find players before anybody else. Seems like CT's connections in the UK have yielded very good results in recent times for Oakley. Shepherd. On to Idara. Adis was sprawling, trying to keep his feet. He's sprung back up now to take on Yokokawa. Great use of the body from Adis. Idara puts it into touch. Heidelberg can't seem to get a foothold in the attacking half.
Incredible to see how Oakley's just been able to take full control of this game, Josh. I mean, 2-0 up, and Heidelberg you'd think would be the aggressors, been looking to try to put Oakley on the back foot, but it's really been an impressive start to this second half from the Cannons. I think they just, trying to make sure of it, not putting the cue in the rack, trying to get that third goal and put this game to bed.
Just got to make sure that the discipline remains intact. There's a couple of quick as a flash bookings to start the second half. Kubalay. Idara, strong challenge. Ellis coughed it up to Valentini. Bodies flying left and right, and finally the whistle goes, and Cam McGilp, he's always gifted in terms of drawing a foul and winning a free kick. Wellsmore. Heidelberg were well set up to defend the cross, and Federhajic stabs it away for a corner. Brody Boyce has stayed back for this one. Connor Hampson's in there, though. Hampson rising! And that connection again yields gold for the Oakley Cannons. It's Guest to Hampson. It's 3-0. And that might be game, set and match.
As you said, Josh, the English connection comes up once again. Guest to Hampson. How many times have we called that over the last season and a half? Beautiful ball into the box. Hampson has his 3rd goal of the season. That's a beautiful, beautiful cross from Joe Guest. And Connor Hampson's going to make no mistake with that one. And this, it's looking quite good for Oakley. And they are, you think, barring an incredible collapse, Josh, on their way to giving Heidelberg their first defeat of the season. It's just been a resounding response after half-time. It feels like Heidelberg have almost dropped their heads a little bit since going 2 behind. It's been all one-way traffic. And it's going to take a lot. Just having a look here, a bit of words with Joe Guest and Ben Collins, Aidan Federhagic.
Started off with Idara and Guest exchanging words.
I think the one thing, though, Josh, is I think if you're Chris Taylor at the moment, you're looking at one of Alex Salmon and Joe Guest, and you might start to think, you know, you're up 3-0, maybe, just maybe, because they're on a yellow card, not to risk anything, maybe make a substitution and get a Pierce Waring on, just to play safety first. I know that they've got so much talent in them, but the fact that they're on a caution at the moment, the last thing they need is to go down to 10 and give Heidelberg even a chance, even a sniff at getting back into this game. We saw earlier this year when Avondale played against Melbourne Knights and they went down to 10, and it gave Knights that bit of momentum, what was able to happen. They were able to get a 3-3 draw in that game. So just something to keep a bit of a watch on this second half.
And I believe, Nick, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's the 5th yellow card this season for Alex Salmon, so he will miss next week.
Fact check that one for you, mate.
Collins does well to win the free kick. Seems as if Oakley's just kept Heidelberg at arm's length today. They did have a flurry of chances to end the first half, but Oakley banged home a second through Valentini. This is Adis, drifting one across the box. Nicolaitis. Olsen flicks it on for Shepherd. But Heidelberg muster something in transition here. Nicolaitis. Wellsmore puts it out for a throw.
Can confirm, Josh, that is yellow card number 5 for Alex Salmon this season. So it does look like as well Heidelberg getting ready to make a double substitution. Dominic Fala and Leo Marzis getting ready to come on here for the Burgers.
Well, you're almost thinking Salmon should run the game out if he's not going to play next week.
Yeah, I mean,
there's no real harm done unless he gets sent off very soon and you have to defend with 10.
Yeah. Of course, it'll be given opportunity then for Pierce Waring to start next week against Altona away for Oakley.
Just imagine the luxury. Oh, our leading goal scorer is out. Let's bring in Pierce Waring.
So Sean Ellis coming off here for Heidelberg, and also it looks like
Nicolaitis has gone off.
Yep, so Dominic Fala and Leo Marzis on here for the Burgers. Bring on a player like Leo Marzis. Embarrassment of riches for Heidelberg being able to bring on a player of that calibre, but they've got a huge mountain to climb, Josh.
It's certainly a lot to do. It looks like Olsen's going to play left back. Well, so that's a very aggressive move.
Yeah, well, he's played left back before, so see, they're definitely going for it. I mean, you've got to risk losing by an extra goal or two to try and get this one back on your terms. So still over half an hour to play, still time, but it's a huge mountain to climb. To score 3 goals away from home here at Jack Edwards Reserve, where no one really comes here and gets points. It's going to be a big, big mountain for the Burgers.
Look at that win from Idara. That is spectacular. Couldn't find a teammate with the pass, but what a tackle.
It's huge. Absolutely huge. He's been brilliant again today.
Olsen thumps one across the field and Sinclair is there. Ali gets there ahead of Adis. Shepherd. And now on for Leo Marzis, the new boy off the bench. What can he muster? That's a brilliant challenge from Sinclair. The shot is deflected behind for a Burgers corner.
Still on the bench for Heidelberg, Josh. Owen Ashton, Adrian Zara and Anthony Theodoropoulos from the sort of outfield players. Of course, Ryan Govan, the backup goalkeeper. You do get a sense we'll see Zara and at least Owen Ashton at some point.
It's Kane Shepherd who's going to take this corner. Josh Pinn was in there. Nick Feely got a fist to it. Olsen rising with Kubalay. Brody Boyce off the thigh and then springs one into space for Adis. And Guest is running the channel in support. Manib Adis cuts in field. Gets a step on Marzus, hangs the cross high, and Yaron Souza rows unopposed. Now Josh Pinn back the other way. Feel as if Heidelberg have to just step up the pace of their play a little bit, show more urgency here. Now they're a team who likes to have possession, but it seems as if when Oakley is set, they're not coughing much up. Oh, big challenge from Guest and Idara. Huge 50-50. The yellow ticket is out. And it looks like Mo Idara is the one who's been penalised.
Yeah, he's gone to the book for that challenge.
Well, that was a tough one for the referee. It was almost both players.
It just looked like a 50-50 collision.
Yeah.
Didn't look like there was any malice in it whatsoever from either side. It's like Guest kind of lost his balance and then Idara just cleaned him up by looked like a pure accident. Look, he sized him up or anything like that.
Well, it's such a big collision. I guess you have to make a decision one way or the other, but it was a very odd incident.
Unless there's something we didn't see, maybe a bit of, I don't know, maybe descent or something in there as well. Maybe it's why it's a yellow card, I'm not too sure.
I think it's just a matter of interpretation. It almost seemed as if neither player had the ball, and they just smashed into each other.
Bit of boom crash opera here at Jack Edwards Reserve.
Certainly keeping us guessing. Can Oakley add to their already sizable lead? Guest with the free kick. Drops short of its intended target. Kubalay recycles. McGill. Olsen. Might drop here for Hampson. Idara. Hampson went to ground. Guest galloped through and bodies flying everywhere at the moment. Good luck picking a foul out of that. Shepherd has Marzus in space on the right. Tried to force it through for Pinn instead. Brody Boyce. Anywhere will do.
Words of encouragement coming from the Heidelberg fans and bench just to keep going, keep up the tempo, try and put Oakley on the back foot.
Well, momentum can swing quickly in these games. Don't count the burgers out just yet.
They're going to have to get their skates on, though.
Certainly will, but...
Hasn't Joe Guest put in a shift today, Josh?
Just never takes a backward step, the Oakley Cannons captain. What a find he's been. 2019 gold medalist. He's close to the best on the park almost every week. Fowler. Ooh. Fowler missed it. Guest squares it up. Manib Adis just stabbed it off the outside of his boot. Didn't quite have the power on it to beat Yaron Souza.
Probably aren't too many more consistent players in the league than Joe Guest. Josh, you made that point. I mean, it seems like in every time that Oakley win, and that's more often than not throughout Guest's tenure at the club, he's always in amongst the best players.
Harjic. No one in particular.
It seems like it's one of those cases of he's just part of such a good team that other players sometimes take votes off him when it comes to, you know, the awards nights and everything, when you got the likes of Salmon and Valentini and, you know, this season with Wade McGilp has played and Ollie Kubalay.
Yeah, Hampson hasn't had that many games, but
yeah,
he was my best on against Manningham last week, and he'll be up there again today. Another goal and another pretty seamless performance at the back.
And the likes of Wellsmore and Brody Boyce, like, they've just got so much talent all over the pitch. I mean, here he is again.
Oh, lovely from Guest. Salmon. Valentini. He's onside. Stefan Valentini. Olsen got a foot to the ball. Oh, you would have expected Stefan Valentini to make something more of that. It's great in the first half, Valentini, but I feel like his influence has waned slightly in the second. Maybe just that yellow card has spooked him a little bit.
Yeah, I think as well. Look, he's only in his first few appearances since coming back from an injury, Josh. I wonder if still he's getting himself up to scratch, get himself up to full match fitness as well, and he might be starting to feel it a bit after a busy week, having played in the Cup as well.
I think that's a good point, Nick. He hasn't played 90 minutes in a while, and coming back from a hamstring tear, I believe.
I'm just watching him, and he looks puffed. He looks like he's sucked in the big ones at the moment.
Idara still battling away in that congested midfield. Olsen, another good challenge. He looks very at home at left back already. Tried a few options at left back. Yokokawa's played out there. Adrian Zara. Nicolaitis has been in and out. Seems to be a position that's not quite nailed on in this Burgers 11. Of course, for the feel-good factor of a junior player who's been there since he was 10 years old in Nicolaitis, you want to see him get minutes, and I'm sure the Heidelberg fans have a soft spot for him. Jamal Ali. Great win from him. Here goes Marzis. It's a good ball from Marzis for Josh Pinn at the back post. Cuts it back for Nick Olsen. He's going for the byline. Well dealt with by Wellsmore in the end. And Heidelberg corner. It was quite interesting that they had Kane Shepherd taking the last one, Nick, when you think you want his height in the area. Yeah, well, they've moved him centrally to play now as the number 9. So with all those changes, you've got Josh Pinn now playing on the left and Shepherd through the middle. So, yeah, good shout. Get him on through the middle. Get him in those crossing positions. It looks like Heidelberg's made to make a double change. Oh, Feely needed to backpedal there. Leo Marzis almost scoring direct from the corner. Now Owen Ashton and Adrian Zara, I think, have been summoned. Another double change for the Burgers. Josh Pinn was up highest for that. Oh, Hampson, what a touch. That is just silky smooth from Connor Hampson. Talk about a Rolls Royce of a defender. Feder Hadzic just about got there ahead of Joe Guest. Scampering through. McGill. Shepherd. Dropping deep as a false 9 is a much different style of centre forward to Josh Pinn. Idara. Oh, he might be in trouble here. He's already on a yellow card. I think he's in some trouble here, Josh. Yep. It's a red card for Heidelberg. And their afternoon goes from bad to worse. As Mo Idara is sent off for his second bookable offence. Heidelberg are absolutely livid with this decision. I think Ollie Kubalay is calling for the stretcher. At least calling for the physio to come on. Sorry, physio. Didn't mean to go full dramatic, but he's calling for something. And Cam McGill is still feeling the effects of that one. It's a heavy challenge. You can hear it from here. Like that was a big challenge. I mean, that earlier yellow card, Josh, which we were questioning, you know, was it a yellow, was it not? Coming back now to bite Mohamed Aidara, who's an all-action midfielder, and telling him to take a backward step. I mean, he's got one setting and it's go, and still, I wonder whether they were about to bring him off, Nick, because they're about to make a double substitution. He was looking at Adrian Zara, and he was looking over at Johnny A, like, what are we going to do? What do we change now? Like, who am I coming on for? Because Johnny A's gone out to discuss with one of his assistants. Fourth official standing close by, so imagine plans have changed. Mo Idara taking an early bath, and regardless of the circumstances of the first yellow card, Nick, I just don't think you can go in for a tackle like that when you're on a booking. Absolutely, yeah. Again, it's not, you know, part of his nature to back off from a 50-50, but you can't be showing your studs. You can't be going in with that sort of force when your team's already in a 3-0 hole. Well, Heidelberg's best laid plans come undone. Owen Ashton is trudging back to the bench, so it's just going to be Zara who comes on. So, looks like he'll miss that game against Dandenong Thunder at home next week with that red card. Big out for that clash at home. Of course, Dandy Thunder coming off a win against Manningham last night. A huge win for them in their hopes of survival this season. And we will get that change now. Oh, it's Kane Shepherd. Well, maybe it's damage limitation for Heidelberg. Shepherd will remove the armbands, give it to Adrian Zara, Heidelberg stalwart. So just keeping an eye on the other game at the moment, Josh. Of course, South Melbourne Moreland City has kicked off at Lakeside Stadium. Still 0-0 there.
27 minutes in. That result stays. Moreland City off the bottom of the ladder. St Albans down on goal difference into bottom place for now.
Adrian Zara would be coming up on 250 top flight appearances this season, which is a phenomenal tenure.
Absolutely. You consider the injury suffered early in his career, Josh, when he was playing for Melbourne Heart over a decade ago now. He's been able to fashion a brilliant career at the Burgers over the last, 10-odd years.
I don't think many people remember his first NPL campaign. That was with Port Melbourne.
Yeah.
But he's almost a one-club player at this point. As Wellsmore makes an interception. Collins cleaning up.
It's one of the last remaining remnants of the great Heidelberg championship winning team from the mid-2010s. Even Sean Ellis.
Two members of George Katsakis' cardiac kids. They had a habit of late comebacks, but I think today would be a miracle, even by the standards of Harry Noon and top cat Tommy Cahill.
A lot of those players now, they're still in action these days, Josh. Of course, just head on down to Quarries Park. So we're playing for Clifton Hill, the likes of Harry Noon and Chris Diodorides and Luke Biles and Lewis Hall.
If you're a Heidelberg fan looking for a nostalgia hit, look no further. Zara with his first touch off the bench. Olsen, a fine ball down the line for Josh Pinn. And the 10 men of Heidelberg strike back. It's Josh Pinn, and it's wild. Almost into the construction site.
Had to take that one on there, Josh. They're not going to have too many chances with 10, and when it's there, you get yourself a pocket of space, you're going to take it on. So it's been a tough day for the Heidelberg attack. And I mean, you think back to those chances they had, Josh, when the game was 1-0, and those three good opportunities they had, they bring the game level. Potentially it's a much different game, but since Oakley got that second goal through Steph Valentini, it's really felt like it's been one-way traffic. It's felt like Oakley's needed this real statement win as well this year, Josh, because they didn't beat Avondale, they didn't beat South Melbourne, so this is a real sort of, we have arrived, we are here, we're going to be right up amongst it this season. And it's incredible saying that about a team that's only lost once this season, but it's felt like a lot of the conversation has centred around South, has centred around Heidelberg, has centred around Avondale, but Oakley has just sort of been thereabouts. They've been consistent. I mean, they've been in some great form, and this is the time of the year where they start to hit their straps.
Well, assuming this result holds, Nick, it's looking more and more likely with every passing minute, it will be 8 wins in a row in all competitions for Oakley. It's just a phenomenal run.
In the next 4 games, Josh, all teams outside the top 6, Altona, Dandy City, Dandenong Thunder, and then Green Gully. Of course,
it's a great early ball for Leo Marzis. We'll stay with play. Marzis, well, skip past Sinclair, but there was no way past Hampson. Ali retreating to recover possession for the Burgers.
Of course, the likes of Dandy City, Altona and Gully are still, trying to keep themselves in the hunt for a finals berth, and those games aren't going to be easy. But the way Oakley have been playing as of late, Josh, I think the big test for them is just that they're going to be on the road most weeks than not. They had that big stretch of home games in the first half of the year. How do they manage playing on the road? They've still got a trip to Avenger Park, another trip to Lakeside Stadium. They've been to Broadmeadows already this year as well, so they've had that game against Hume, and now have ticked off these games against Heidelberg as well.
This is Nick Olsen. Drives it across goal. Hampson yet again in the way. Olsen lobs it back towards Zara. Valentini. He does look very tired, Stephen Valentini. I wonder when CT goes to his bench.
No movement whatsoever on the Heidelberg bench, I can tell you that.
Oh, Alex Salmon into space here. Yaron Souza charging off his line as the sweeper keeper.
Safety first there from Yaron Souza. But conversely for Heidelberg, Josh, next 4 games, 3 out of the next 4 at home. Dandenong Thunder, Green Gully away, then South Melbourne and Port Melbourne at home. This is a big stretch of games coming up. I mean, the next 2 you'd expect them to win. But those 2 games coming up against South Melbourne at home always is a good game against South. And then Port Melbourne, who have been consistent, they've been steady, they've been able to keep themselves ahead of the trailing pack for the race for 6th. And credit to what Nick Marinos has done at JL Murphy this season with a brand new squad. And a lot of people probably at the start of the season thought potentially there'd be a dip this year, and he's done a great job at being able to keep them in finals contention. So that's going to be even another fascinating contest. And they played a great game earlier this year that you were at, Josh. So,
yeah.
it's a big month coming up for Heidelberg, and can't forget for both these teams, they'll find out their cup fate as well in the next little bit too. So not too sure exactly when that fixture will be scheduled, but you imagine it'd be quite soon as well.
Here goes Ollie Kubalay. Cutbacks on for Salmon. Salmon spins and shoots and sees his effort blocked. McGilt going to ground. Advantage paid. Adis. Salmon. Well, the point you make about Oakley's home form versus their away form, Nick, is borne out by the stats. Oakley are top of the home table in NPL, and they are 6th on the away table.
That's a concern.
So 20 points from 9 games at home, and there'll be even more from today's result, and 11 from 5 away. And now, some live score news coming in from the other game at Lakeside. And it's one that might shake up the title race and the relegation battle, Nick.
You wouldn't believe it. Moreland City lead at Lakeside Stadium. Remember, they did lead against South Melbourne last year at Lakeside Stadium as well in their first game in the top flight. And they're up in that game in the first half after about half an hour.
Absolutely incredible. The team that couldn't buy a win or even a draw for the first, 12, 13 games of the season.
Now on the brink of potentially 3 wins in a row.
This league just keeps delivering the twists and turns and surprises. Have we got any more in store this afternoon? It's Oakley with a chance to extend their lead.
There's one thing we know about South Melbourne, though, Josh, as we saw on Tuesday night against Preston. They have an uncanny way of being able to get themselves back into the contest, and they're so good at working themselves.
Here goes Manibaitis from the angle. It's driven into the side netting. Well, the net bulged, but the wrong side of it.
It's a good little play there from Oakley, and Ada's still looking for his second goal of the season. He's had a lot of good work, but we haven't seen the goals this year to really complement all that fantastic work in this breakout season he's having. But just going back to that point, when this game ends, definitely do tune in to the NPL Victoria live stream of that game. Lockie Flanagan calling that one at Lakeside, and it's going to be a fascinating game. That could really shake up the title race. I believe if that result stays, Avondale will be first again this weekend.
It would be absolutely huge, and I'm sure Oakley would be very happy to see that as well. Fowler floats it out to Marses. Hampson. Sinclair sweeps it away. And Heidelberg only have a throw for their troubles. I was actually chatting to Chris Taylor after last week's game against Manningham, and he was very complimentary of Moreland City. Nick, he said it was one of the best sides they played against this season, and thought the results were just not reflecting the actual state of play in those games. They had a very tough win away at CB Smith the first time around, and then playing against essentially the Moreland City reserves on Tuesday night. 3-1 was a pretty respectable scoreline as far as Moreland City were concerned. But they're back with their first string team for this massive game at Lakeside, and a long way to go yet. But
well, they've had so many one-goal losses this season. Like, they were losing 1-0 against all the big boys, and a lot of even 3-2s. They led against Heidelberg as well at Olympic Village. They were up against Altona, and they coughed up that lead late. So they're a team that has shown that they can cause a lot of problems.
Swept out from Collins to Marses. Yokikawa wrong-footed, and away strides Hampson. It's imperious this afternoon. The English central defender. More often seen at left back for Oakley over the last couple of seasons, but he stepped in the time of need with Jacob Eliopoulos suspended.
Just got word from Lakeside, 1-1. South Melbourne have just equalised from what I understand, a second phase ball after a long throw.
There you go. Well, talk about curse of the commentators, Nick.
Is it parity restored yet, or is it still a bit early to call parity? Still a long way to go in that game. But God, that's shaped up to be a cracking finish to that contest.
Absolutely. Meanwhile, Heidelberg to craft a way forward through Zara. Dribbles into touch. And every little battle and duel that Oakley win seems to bring them closer to 3 points. Well, off comes Asahi Yokikawa. Hasn't quite been his afternoon. The Japanese midfielder. And Owen Ashton comes on in his stead.
Of course, Owen Ashton scored the equaliser last week against Altona Magic, Josh.
He's a super sub for Heidelberg this season. Great play to bring off the bench, and just great to see him fit and playing after the scare he had, the health scare over at the Grange Reserve against Kingston in the Cup. That was a very troubling end to the night with an ambulance required, but just thankful to see him back playing and fit and healthy and happy. Even if you won't be pleased by the scoreline today. Collins. Fedahajic.
Two wondered. So we'll go stay with play for a second.
Ashton loses out to Sinclair that time. Away comes Valentini. Forces it through to Guest. Well, it's well saved by Souza. The rebound would have been tucked away, but the flag was up.
Do wonder, Josh, we're about a month or so out from the opening of the window. Do wonder if both teams will be active. They have been in seasons gone past. I mean, Oakley last year bringing in the likes of Kingsley Sinclair, who really was able to help bolster that attacking third of the grounds. I mean, Heidelberg last year signing Jamal Ali. They had Amir Abdullah come in as well, who's now playing for Hume City. I do wonder if, both these teams and what position, really part of the pitch they need to strengthen. I mean, Oakley, it seems like they've got so much talent, it's almost refining it just with more depth.
I think depth in defence is the number one priority. Yeah. I think this week exposed the fact that, Eliopoulos and Brody Boyce, they're only recognised centre-backs, with Hampson a very, very able deputy, but ideally you want him at left-back.
Also, Hamish Miller missing as well today, Josh.
Yeah. His appearances have been few and far between this season, so I think another utility defensive player who can play centre-back would be top of the shortlist for Chris Taylor.
I believe that they had signed Ajak Dayu.
Yes, and
he did his ACL.
He did a serious knee injury in pre-season, so I think they're one short at least in that department. For Heidelberg, it's tougher to say, I think. Just be trying to add quality if they can.
I think maybe another attacker, maybe a bit more depth up front, and maybe even a little bit more depth at fullback. I mean, we spoke about how they've had a bit of a revolving door at left back. Maybe that might be a position of focus for Johnny A and his coaching staff in the window.
If you could sign a unquestioned first choice left back, then it might be a win for Heidelberg. Swinging delivery away by Boyce. Kubalay. Oh, look at the numbers here for Oakley. They're queuing up. Adis, he's offside. It won't count. Well, Oakley really should be 4 up after that 4v2 break. They were all too over-eager, Nick. They couldn't stay on side.
Yeah, they're absolutely just charging through the middle there, and Mooney Bader's just that second offside. You can just see at the moment Oakley just right now, Josh, I mean, going into this game, I mean, you would have thought, definitely wouldn't have thought this was going to end as a 3-0, and definitely wouldn't have thought Oakley would be in this position right now. I think at this stage, both these two teams will be locked in a tight tussle for points, but right now it's just been an incredible knockout blow, really, from the Cannons today.
Well, this is Josh Pinn. Hampson giving away the free kick, much to his disbelief.
I just wonder, though, like, every team sometimes needs a loss just to shake things up a little bit, just to kind of reset. I just wonder if maybe this is the loss that maybe Heidelberg needed after, they had a bit of a scare last week against Altona, just for them to just kind of go, okay, like, let's just hit the reset button a little bit.
It's hard to completely transform a team in one off-season. Ashton misses everybody with the free kick. Feel like the style has really taken hold, but maybe just the fluency at times or the familiarity between the players. There's been quite a lot of changeover in terms of personnel. It's not quite there.
Okay, update from Lakeside Stadium, 2-1 South Melbourne. Just before
there you go.
Time.
The league leaders flexing their muscles.
It was actually Max Mikler with the equaliser, so it was him with the long throw, and then it's come back to him, I believe. So his name's down as the goal scorer on Football 24. It's been a good week for South Melbourne fans, Josh. It was a great night on Tuesday night. Their 5-2 win against Preston. Just a great night for football, really. 6,500 people down there at BT Connor Reserve, or just under 6,500, but a really, really fun night of football.
It was a spectacular occasion, wasn't it? At this stage, neither of these two sides shaping as potential national second division entrants. You do wonder if a night like Tuesday gives you a little bit of that FOMO. Here comes Pierce Waring for Oakley.
I do wonder if you are right there, Josh. Maybe they looked at it and were like, let's get our entry sorted. Let's pay the licence fee. Let's go for it. Let's put an expression of interest in.
Well, they're still adding potentially 4 more teams to the roster for next season. One of those could come from Victoria, at least.
Well, Heidelberg were part of it.
They were?
They were one of the foundation teams that were part of, I guess, the expression of interest phase, and they're one of the teams to withdraw, I believe.
From the initial phase, I'm not sure where they stand at this point.
Well, they're also, you see the redevelopments here at Jack Edwards Reserve, but there are going to be some more redevelopments as well at the Olympic Village over the next year and a bit.
Including getting rid of the birds from the grandstand.
Yeah, they're putting
a great result for everybody.
Fixing up the seats, putting in some new seats, put some nets up in the grandstand as well, redoing the canteen behind the goals.
Yeah, just building capacity for hosting big events as well, which, it's hosted 2 straight NPL Victoria Grand Finals, Olympic Village.
Yep.
It's a wonderful playing surface, but still trying to upgrade the spectator experience.
Of course, from now on, though, we're going to be heading to Bundoora for the NPL Victoria Grand Finals, both the men and the women at the home of the Matildas.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that venue looks on game day.
It was a nice spectacle for the women's grand final last year when South played Bulleen. Looking forward to seeing what it'll be like for both this year, seeing what sort of event Football Victoria look to pull off.
Olsen battling with Waring, and behind for a goal kick.
Be a big chance for Pierce Waring next week, Josh. I mean, we're starting to already look ahead because this game's all but done, but he will, you think, lead the line against Altona with Alex Salmon suspended. So it's a big chance for him. I mean, he's only scored the 1 goal this season, but we forget he's one of the best strikers in this competition. And, as Green Gully have been looking for an answer at number 9 for most of this year, he hasn't really been able to have the opportunities at Oakleigh that he would have been hoping for. So this is a big chance for him with Salmon missing. Might just give Chris Taylor a little bit to think about once he has both available yet again, if we can have a big display at Paisley Park.
Altona will be breathing a sigh of relief that they don't have to play against Alex Salmon again.
Yeah.
Scored against them in the initial fixture before it was abandoned due to that injury, serious head injury that required an ambulance here, and
then scored again.
Scored in the replay as well. So I think the Magic will be very happy to see the back of Alex Salmon for this season at least.
Unless they make finals.
True. But it's not out of the realm of possibility now.
But they suffered a 2-0 defeat against Dandy City yesterday, and Port Melbourne beating Melbourne Knights has made that a little bit difficult. But it's going to be a fascinating end to this season, Josh, because the gap is starting to widen between Port Melbourne and the trailing pack. Like, as much as Dandy City got points and, Gully had a bit of a resurgence prior to last week, Melbourne Knights, a bit of a mini one, and they've had 2 disappointing results. It does start to feel like that top 6 is starting to come to fruition. But there's still a lot of football left to be played this season, so you never know what can happen. There could be injuries, things can turn.
There's a huge battle on for the premiership as well, and seeding when come finals time.
Well, really, anyone from 1st to 5th can finish anywhere between 1 and 5 right now. It's why these games are so important. So as much as it might be a loss that maybe the Burgers need just to reset, it also just sees them lose a little bit of ground. But they're all going to play each other again, so it's going to be a fascinating end to this year.
This is Waring. He's come on for Valentini. Turns the ball to Wellsmore. Wellsmore held up and picked the perfect pass to Guest, and he took a little too long. Oh, and Joe Guest has done some damage. Maybe cramp, I think.
A bit of cramp, yeah. The leg's gone straight. Usually that means, there's definitely a cramp. So you see Noah Holmes is getting ready to come on, so that probably looks like that will be the change.
Noah Holmes probably relieved he doesn't have to play centre-back again.
Yes.
He was deputising for the last few minutes against Manningham on the weekend, and then played a full 90, I believe, against Moreland City.
We haven't seen much of Noah Holmes this year since coming across from Western United. I mean, You know, he started a handful of games. We saw him here against St Albans a few weeks ago, but when Cam McGilp was out injured a few weeks ago, he slotted in, and a bit of a different midfielder to McGilp, who probably Holmes doesn't provide the same attacking sort of push, a bit more of a number 6.
So tidy technically, Holmes.
Yeah.
Good defensive instincts. But I guess when you're signing for Oakley, you have to be willing to play a role in the supporting cast.
You got to be willing to play anywhere on the pitch.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, remember
anywhere you can get minutes.
In their cup run a couple of years ago when Wade Decker was playing at left back at times, you know, and it just goes to show you just got to be willing to play a role for the team, and that's the beauty of Oakley. They're just such a well-oiled machine, and that's what's made them such a hard team to beat over the last 2.5 years.
Well, Guest is going to stay on here as 2 minutes go up on the 4th officials board, and we finally get some respite from the setting sun.
I think we have another sub as well, just looking over on that far side as well.
And they've got one more change coming up, but they might wait for another window to bring on. Is that Luke Mensink there coming on?
Just getting confirmation. It's...
Sure is.
It is, yeah. It's one of the real talents in this Oakley youth setup, Josh. I mean, he's been on the bench quite a bit recently, and he's got a great record on the 23 level as well.
Cannot stop scoring, and he's just on the periphery of the first team at the moment. He started one game at least. Made a few sub appearances.
Famous surname around Victorian football as well.
Sure is. And here comes that other change. Oh, it's going to be Minibatis. So, Joe Guest, suck it up, have some pickle juice, and run out the 90, mate.
I don't think you'll be complaining. Another really good shift from Minibatis, Josh. He's been such a great signing for them coming across from Bentley Greens in the off-season. We saw in bits last year as part of Ricardo Marchioli's Bentley side last year, but I mean, it was such a tough end to the year that we didn't really get to see enough of Adas to really make a judgment, but it seems like he's bulked up this off-season. He looks even more rapid. It looks like he just continues to make strides, and I'm looking forward to seeing what sort of play he can become over the next few years.
I think the next step for him is a bit more end product, a little bit more in terms of goal scoring, because we see him getting into so many promising positions, as Leo Marzis has done here. I have to say Marzis, you know, a difficult game for a sub to come on in where the result is almost settled before you've got a chance to influence things, but he has impressed me with his technical ability and his jinking runs down the wing.
Yep.
Whipped in by Ashton. One for Josh Pinn to contest. Nick Feely up to punch.
It's good to see as well, talking about stability between the sticks, that we've been able to basically get a full year of Nick Feely as well, after all the injuries he's had over the last couple of years.
Oakley restate their title credentials. A huge win in the Greek derby. Now, a lot of reflecting to do for Heidelberg after that scoreline. It was a lot more even than perhaps the scoreline at halftime suggested, but Oakley went in 2-0 to the good as Alex Salmon smashed home from point-blank range. And then Stefan Valentini with a powerful header at the back post. And in the second half, it was that familiar Curzon-Ashton connection. Joe Guest to Connor Hampson from the corner kick. And the defender playing in the middle of the back line today in the absence of Jacob Eliopoulos powered his effort home for his third goal of the campaign. And made it 3-0 to the Oakley Cannons, and 3-0 it stayed after Mohamed Aidara was dismissed for his second yellow card of the afternoon. So congratulations to the Oakley Cannons. Congratulations in order as well to Yanni Zizis, who officiated his 100th top flight game and kept a lid on things when the tempers early in the second half threatened to boil over, Nick. But Oakley, what a statement win.
Absolutely huge win for the Cannons. That's, 7 wins in a row in all competitions?
8 wins.
8 wins in all competitions in a row for them now. So they're flying in the cup, they're flying in the league. That win taking them only a point behind Avondale on the standings. Of course, South Melbourne leading 2-1, so on the live ladder, 4 points clear, but they're right in the hunt for the top 2, and we know how important that is. You get the week off in finals, but they're flying at the moment. They're the team to beat right now, but it's going to be a fascinating run coming up. A lot of games away from home, so we'll see if they're able to continue that run. But for Heidelberg, look, first loss of the year. They've been flawless to start this season. They've been fantastic. It's a chance for them to hit the reset button. We know how well they've been under John Anastasiadis so far this season, and you expect that this should, I think, given what we've seen from a bigger sample size beyond today, just be a blip in the radar for the Burgers.
Heidelberg's undefeated season comes to an end, and they still haven't beaten Oakley since 2022. We'll leave it there. Thank you for joining us here on the NPL Victoria live stream. Josh Parrish alongside Nick DeBarno today. And the final score at Jack Edwards Reserve, Oakley Cannons 3, Heidelberg United 0.